In the next section, we're going to talk about designing your marketing piece for the highest success, highest response, highest conversion. Design is a very often overlooked element of creating successful marketing. I particularly am one that thinks it's very important, and I think it's worth you studying. Don't just leave it to the designers. One of the reasons why I think it's worth you studying is because most designers, in my experience, that are designing advertising are artists. And just like every damn one of us sits here and defends our position, the artist will come up with a million reasons why it's better their way. They will have all kinds of logic and studies and reasoning and the feeling and all this stuff. Okay? Sometimes ugly works better. Nobody wants to hear that, but sometimes ugly does work better. So you learn about design. You get what good design is, and you develop the ability to create it. And you don't need to go to some design school for 4 years and learn to use a sophisticated program. You can do the stuff that we're going to talk about here in Microsoft Word. You might need to learn about a couple of new features, and you might have to get someone to help you put a new text box in, or you might have to get your web designer to do 1 or 2 fancy things. But you keep your hand on the wheel of the design, because if you don't, it's going to get crazy. There are going to be lots of reasons for it, and when it doesn't work, the designer is going to say, well, the design is beautiful, so that's obviously not the problem. A story that I like to tell, you may have heard me tell before, is when I first started one of my businesses almost 7 years ago, I put up my website, and the landing page is one that you've actually seen more than one variations of during this program. And regularly I would get contacted by web designers, and they would say, hey, I'll redesign your website if you'll give me some of your stuff, thinking that they had a no-brainer there. And so I would write them back and I would say, that sounds great. I'll tell you what, I've been working in direct response marketing now for, let's see, somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 10 years. I've tested many landing pages, I've tested copy, I've tested colors, tested headlines, and I've refined this to the point where I've gotten the highest conversion. And I've had some of my friends who are strong marketers also give recommendations, and none of us can beat it. So if you think you can beat that, I not only give you some of my product, but I'll pay you money. No takers. All right? When you communicate, hey, we're playing a game called, we're trying to make money here. We're trying to get the highest conversion possible. We don't want to leave anything on the table. We're not trying to make something that's going to win an art award. We're trying to get somebody to buy. You might rattle them a little bit, but that's okay. That's not who you want around. So let's take a look at an ad that is one of the most famous advertisements that's ever been created. And we'll use it as a model. This is an ad that David Ogilvy wrote decades ago, and it's his famous Rolls-Royce ad. Now, when you look at this ad, immediately your eye goes to the picture, then it goes to the headline, subhead, and then the first column of copy. Headline says, at 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in this new Rolls-Royce comes from the electric clock. What makes Rolls-Royce the best car in the world? There's really no magic about it. It is merely patient attention to detail, says an eminent Rolls-Royce engineer. Now, when you first look at this, I mean, even though this was designed decades ago, does this look like something that's going to try to take something away from you? Do you get the feeling, oh, this is trying to get something from me? They're going to try and talk me into something. Or does it feel like it's informational? It's going to offer you some info, educate you. Does it look like an ad, or does it look like an article? What do you notice about this? What stands out immediately when you study the design with a magnifying glass, when you scrutinize it? Looks like a newspaper. What else? Editorial. What are some of the things you see here that you don't see in most advertisements and in many of the ones that we've seen today? What are some of the things that stand out? Yell them out.
Lots of text.
Lots of text, okay. A Rolls Royce. Okay, good. No logos. Interesting. What else? You might want to be writing these down. There's something to all these things. Quotations. Columns of text. What else? A logical flow. It reeks of aristocracy. What else? Simplicity. Numbered paragraphs that are kind of like bullets, like bullet points. One-third picture, two-thirds text. Call to action. Yeah, I think there is a call to action there. There's some information down there. You can get a brochure or something. But what else? I'm talking about the design. Goes from bigger to smaller. Good. Simple. Emotional experience is not a design element. Eye goes from the top to the bottom naturally. Clean lines. Clean alignments. White space. I think there's probably less white space on this than a lot of the stuff we've looked at. There's a picture. Clear picture. There's a headline under the picture. Good. So now we're looking at this with objective eyes. We're looking at the design elements. And what I'll suggest to you is that if you look at this in terms of elements, you deconstruct what the elements are, and then you go to work on your own marketing piece using those elements, things like big picture at top, two-line headline with quotes around the headline, subheadline, 3 columns of text, that you'll be making a tremendous amount of progress. Nothing that's going on here is an accident. I think probably the best marketing education you can get from one book is the book that this came from, which is Ogilvy on Advertising by David Ogilvy. Covers the whole gamut from advertising the business to writing ads to copy to design to layout. Spectacular. When you read the book, you might be surprised to figure out that decades ago, David Ogilvy and his now monstrous, would evolve into a monstrous company, they tested everything. Nothing is an accident there. No accidents. How much of the marketing pieces that you are creating, how much of the stuff is an accident? You hope that it works. Good.